everyone, it's Ellen from Classroom Unbound, and today I want to share 5 tips on creating a shared homeschool space. For those of you who may be new to my channel, I am Ellen, and I have a 9, an 8, and a 6-year-old. 2 of them just had birthdays, and we are a military family. I have a doctorate in education, and I post most often about homeschool education related things, maybe some trips we take and books we've read, and also planners. So today I want to give some tips on creating a shared homeschool space and also show you our shared homeschool space. So with the first homeschool area that I created for our house was about 2016, 2017, and I think was one of the first videos on this channel. I'll link it above so you can see. And we basically had 2 large areas dedicated to homeschool and also an in-home daycare that I ran at the time. We have since then moved twice, once to South Korea and now to Germany, and we do not have that same space anymore. While I miss that space, I also love the area that we're in, and you just take advantage of whatever you have available to you. So the space that we have now, we have decided to create a shared space that is part homeschool room, part office. So I work from home, I teach online, and also do freelance curriculum writing. So I definitely need a space where I can work, and I also feel like the children need a space that is dedicated to not necessarily just their learning, but at least their learning supplies. And I'll get into a little bit more of that later. But I wanted to share some tips on creating a homeschool space for your family and also show you our homeschool space. The number one thing to remember is that your homeschool area does not need to replicate what it looks like at your child's school, or if you are permanent homeschoolers, it does not need to look like a classroom. Just as you can sit down and learn something on the couch, your children can do the same thing. So you don't need to have that classroom environment at home. So be flexible in the space that you dedicate to your homeschool, and be flexible on how it looks. There's no one right way to have a homeschool area. Make it work for your family. Okay, my tip number 1 is to dedicate one area that has a hard surface to write on / keep projects. I know sometimes we get very involved in the projects that we're working on, and they take a few hours, and as much work as we've put into it, we don't want to break it apart. So it's nice to have one area of the house where we can stick that item and go take a break, eat a meal, take a walk, and then come back and still work on it later. So this could be a desk, it could be your dining room table, it could be just a table that you've repurposed as a desk. And it's not necessarily to have your children write on it all of the time, but at least if you have something that you are working on together, a project that you want to keep, maybe it's an area that you can keep those if you need to take a break for something, but definitely also something where your children can sit and write. This is the writing surface that I have dedicated for our homeschool, and as you know, we have 3 children. I only have 2 chairs here, and that's all we have, which is fine. And I have one child, I move my laptop, and I'll have one child sit there and then 2 sit here if we are working in here, and we just rotate it. You know, you are the student of the day basically, and we just rotate if we are in here, but if not, we'll sit at the dining room table, or even sit outside if we want. When we don't do work in the homeschool room, a lot of times we are doing work in here, and this is just our dining room. Offers plenty of space to write, do work, and I love the fact that we have a huge window here, so lets plenty of light in. And then on the side here, I just have like a little bin with some books, some painting supplies, some coloring books, and some paper. My second tip is to have good lighting in whatever location you want to dedicate to a homeschool specific area. And this ideally would come from windows, but if you don't have a lot of windows in an area, at least having some good lamps or some overhead lighting, maybe even changing out the light bulbs would help, just to make sure that your children aren't struggling to read anything that they're writing with, and it is kind of like a bright, cheerful area to be in. My number 3 tip tip is to have a place to store your homeschool material. This doesn't necessarily have to be in the same place as where the majority of your learning takes place, but I think that having one area where your main teaching resources or student workbooks and materials are held is very helpful, because for you, for planning, having everything in one area, it's just much easier to pull one thing from, look at it, reference it, and then put it back and grab another, where in a less organized way, if you have something in one room and then in another, and then it's too much. I think in one area is the best. Maybe dedicating a shelf or a cubby or a closet to having all of the homeschool supplies there will just make it much easier for you for planning. Here is my shelf that is dedicated to just homeschooling. And the way that I've organized this is the top shelf is for my resources, the middle shelf is for my oldest son who is 9, and then the next shelf is for my middle son who is 8, and then the bottom shelf is for my youngest who is 6. So on this side I have books like What Your Blank Grader Should Know, and then some of the ones that we all work from, first language lessons, The Story of the World, like an art book. This is some typing material, Plan Your Year, my curriculum planner is there, and then over here are just some extra resources, some books that are dealing with education that I reference or go through. Some of them I'm reading this one right now. So I have those here, and then they all basically follow that same layout. We have workbooks on this side, and then the books that they are reading or that I have assigned to them on this side. Same thing throughout, and then the lowest ones are there. And then organizing a shelf like this, I just find it easy. I can grab a book, grab some books up here, and then just organize, lay out our week from there. And then at the top I have some resources, manipulatives, the math you see counters, a fraction game. This is pattern blocks, and then we have some rock samples there. And then over here we have a cart, again with manipulatives, and this I can easily just take and take it to our dining room table, take outside wherever I want. I could also just roll this whole cart, which is why I have it on a cart. We have some magnetic letters here, some money, all about spelling. The letter, I can't think of the name right now, but the letters are in there. Some extra, while you wait books, and some flashcards are down there. Here's where I keep some miscellaneous things. I have, this is our home binder that has important home paperwork, just anything like car titles, birth certificates, social security cards, everything like that is in here. And then this is like a home management binder where I have just like schedules, dentists, phone numbers, addresses, things like that. These are some projects that I'm working on, like freelance projects. I keep that all here. So it's all here, easily accessible. And then down here, just extra notebooks here, important documents, these are tax documents there, things that we're not using right now, encyclopedias that we just may need to reference every now and then those are my old bullet journals, and then some other stuff like that I'm working on, just some German grammar things, some French, and then hand lettering. So that's like my shelf over there. My tip number 4 is to display artwork or beautiful posters or things that your children are interested in, and this could be in your shared space, your homeschooling room, or all throughout the house. And one thing that I like to do is put these things at the eye level of the children. So in our shared homeschool space, you'll see that some of the pictures are a little bit lower, and that's so the children can really see it and they can interact with the material instead of seeing something up high and not really being able to interact with it. I have hung up some posters around the room and at their eye level so they can easily see them, interact with them, read them, and see what's going on. And I often change what I have hanging up, or at least I change the location of them so they don't just get used to seeing them and they become backgrounds for them. I want them to engage with them regularly, so I will change the posters out or change their location just so they walk by and they say, oh, I haven't seen that before, or I didn't notice this. And whereas here they may walk by and always see, always notice this one. If I put it in a different location, they may, start to notice other ones on there as well. And my tip number 5 might be the hardest one to follow, but I think it is a very good tip in allowing your homeschool to run much more smoothly, and that is to clean up daily. Teaching your children good habits of cleaning up after themselves, and you as well putting stuff back every day, putting it back where it belongs, then it'll just allow for the following day to work much more smoothly. So just as you don't want to go into a dirty kitchen in the morning to try to start a big breakfast, you wouldn't want to come into a homeschool area or homeschool space and see a huge mess and expect to start something brand new in that area. So if you can get in good habits of organizing and cleaning regularly, cleaning up after yourselves, then it just allows your homeschool to run much more smoothly. And having a space that is clean and organized is much more inviting to the children, and it allows them to be more calm and not be distracted with unorganized things, and they can focus more on what you want them to learn. Okay, those were my 5 tips on creating a shared homeschool space. Do you have any tips that you would like to share as well? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.